In Singapore, a lot of us aspire to own or live in a condo. Just look at that view and the amenities. Freaking awesome. But just looking at the loan quantum and the down payment is just so frustrating because it's so expensive right now. And if you're wondering how much salary, how much cash down payment you need to be able to afford a condo, let's talk about it in this video. Because condos are such an expensive, big ticket item, it's probably the most expensive item that we'll be purchasing in our lives. It is very important to buy condos that, ideally grow in value, or if not, minimally keep and not lose money every single year. Because even if you lose a small percentage every year, right, you're looking at hundreds of thousands because the quantum of it is so huge. So making losses on your property could very well mean that you have to kick your retirement plan down by a couple of years. So while it is super tempting to filter property, go to Property Guru and sort by the cheapest and just buy the cheapest condo out there, probably not the best idea. There are a lot of considerations you need to have. We're also going to talk about the type. Are you going to buy an EC or is it a resale condo? They're priced very differently. The loans are very different. The amount of salary is very different. But if you want to just buy the cheapest condo in Singapore that's available, I'm going to show you the numbers, how much salary and down payment you need. But I'm also going to show the different expected prices you can expect to pay, as well as the salaries required if you want to pay the expected amount, what your typical condo prices. And if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments below or join our WhatsApp community. We have a lot of community experts who know different aspects of property. So hey, who knows, someone may be a resident expert of the questions or difficulties that you're facing right now. So first off, when it comes to buying condos, important considerations, right? The first is whether you are staying in a condo or is it purely for investment because you are living with your parents. It makes a big difference because if you are staying yourself or even with a partner and kids, then you need to think what their needs are. Do they need a big swimming pool? Do they need certain facilities, certain transportation convenience? So then by having those requirements, it would mean that the budget would change and the places that you can find condos would definitely change. Secondly, if you are looking for investments, then your mindset is very different. It's all about the highest ROI. You're also looking at places which has very high rental yields, which may not be ideal for homestay, right? So that would contradict one another. So you need to be clear on that as well as the requirements. Secondly is also your timeline. And timeline in particular, I think, would be most relevant to people who currently already own homes. A lot of us cannot afford to buy two homes at the same time. So you need to sell off your home and then move in or buy your next home. So if you buy your home too early, you kind of have no cash, no CPF, it hasn't been refunded in the account, you can't buy a new home. And if you buy too late, this means you need to move twice. And that's very inconvenient, especially if you live for like a decade. You can imagine the amount of stuff you have accumulated in your house. So timeline is super important to plan properly. So after consideration is that you need a good framework to assist you or to keep you objective, because sometimes you can get very emotional when you see something like go to showroom, it's so beautiful, you're like, that's bad, but actually it may not be the best value for you. So that's why you need a good framework to keep you in check, keep you objective, or assist you in bargain hunting what's really good for you. So speaking of bargain hunting, let's check out today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is myself. So if you find property hunting really stressful and time consuming, and it's more, you're not even sure if you're buying properties that are actually good value or are you paying a huge premium, overpaying for this property, don't worry, I got you. So I provide personalized property consultation to ensure that all my advice is tailored to your needs. And if you need an agent to act on your behalf, I can help you to source for great deals. I'll do all the research and analysis to ensure that you're getting great deals and, more importantly, remove a lot of stress and give you what's most important: a high return on your time spent and a very happy buying experience. So if you'd like to find out more, be sure to call me at this number below and I'll see you over at the other side. So let's continue. So moving on, we look at factors that affects the price of a property, and for this I actually learned a good framework from Patrick Liu, who's a founder of a property agency in Singapore. He shared a bullseye theory. So you start from the widest area and then slowly kind of work your way inwards to analyze whether the property is a good deal. I think the first factor is the big picture. So then for this, I'm thinking of analyzing the state, or in Singapore's case, it's the whole island, right? Then which region this property is in. When you analyze the big picture, you also look at future development. Are there new condos coming up? Are there new malls? Are there transformation potential? So then from there, you can see which area is trending and which area people are looking to move into, because this ultimately affects demand. And where there is a prospect of increasing demand in the area, prices move up. So when it comes to properties, there are 3 key regions you really need to know. The first is the core central region. So these are areas that are, commonly known as in town. And then there's your rest of central region, which is very close to town, but not quite your central region area. And then everything else, which is the outskirts or fringe of Singapore, they are known as your outside central region or OCR. But what's interesting, right, if you look at the charts right now between the 3 regions, you will notice that OCR is lacking very far behind, but RCR has caught up a lot, and it's pretty much almost the same price as core central region. So then you have 2 mindsets, right? So when looking at these regions, you can have 2 train of approaches to buying or seeing where has better value. The first is to be like contrarian, to go against the norm. So as you can see right now, RCR has been rising a lot faster than the other 2 regions. So to be contrarian then would mean that you can look at core central because you expect, everything will revert to the mean. Or you can buy OCR because it doesn't make sense that RCR rises a lot and OCR doesn't catch up. So having a contrarian mindset is how you try to find bargains. That's one. Number 2 is momentum mindset. So if this is trending up and you still see that there's a lot of momentum or power in that momentum, continue buying RCR to push because you think that it will probably rise further. So in my opinion, I feel that contrarian is a little bit safer, whereas momentum is a bit riskier unless you are very early in the momentum. So now I move to the second ring, right, which is the development itself. So when you look at this particular development, you need to compare with competition nearby to the development because those are your additional supply. And if there's a lot of supply, that would drive prices down. So then you also ask questions like, what are the balance lease? Are there any new flats in this area? Or more importantly, let's say you're looking to buy 3-bedders. Are there a 3-bedder supply in the area? Because that is the direct competition that you will have. And that's really important to know quite intimately because that would determine whether is this a safe entry or when you want to sell in the future, you have issues. My last but not least is the individual unit. So then you see high floor, low floor. Floor plan, is it ideal? Are there better floor plans in this development? Is there good view? No good view? Are the neighbors good? Is the walkway clear, corridor? Or is it like blocked and noisy and no privacy? And also you look at future exit plan, right? In future, if you want to sell, what's the profile that you're selling to? Who can you sell? Because that's really important. When you buy a property, you don't just think how you can enter, but also how you can exit. So buying a unit with very little lease left would mean that it's going to be a lot harder to sell because people may not be able to take the full loan in the future and have to fork out a lot more cash. But as a general rule is that if you want to find bargains, don't fall in love with a feature. There is no one feature that will definitely make you money because there's a price for everything, like for example, high floor versus low floor. Some go as far to gauge, every floor, what's a reasonable price increase? If it's too much, then you're overpaying, then that means that chances are you may lose some money. If you are getting a good deal, like high floor is priced cheaper than low floor, everything else the same, go for high floor because you can probably earn some cash there. Again, that's not the main focus of this video, but I just want to talk a little bit about those factors to really consider because just in case you just watch this video and want to buy a property straight, don't. You really need to think all these things through before you buy a $900, $1 million, $1.5 million house. And now to the juicy part of the question, which is how much salary do you need for max loan and down payment? So before I can start, it's quite an individualized and complicated process. So I'm just going to state 4 assumptions. So then from there, you can kind of tweak the numbers that I give you based on this assumption. So the first is that stamp and legal duty can be reimbursed with CPF, but for the sake of calculating how much cash you need, I'm including that in first because you actually need to pay cash first for condos. You need to pay cash first. Then after that, you can get your lawyer to reimburse those back to you. Number 2, I'm going to assume that the profile is age 35. Doesn't matter whether it's single or double, it doesn't affect. I'm going to assume you have no car loans at the point of buying because you can always sell the car, and get maximum loan. We have this mindset that there's no other liabilities because it affects the maximum amount of loan you can get and therefore you need more income. That I'm also going to assume you have no other residential property and you are Singaporean because if not, you would incur what is known as additional buyer's stamp duty, which ranges from 5% to as much as 60% of the property price, which is insane. If it is like $1 million, it's extra 600k cash. That's really expensive. So yeah, you need to pay first and you can get it reimbursed. But the question is, unless you have extra 600k lying around, it's going to be really, really painful to pay this stamp duty. Last but not least, I need to also say that all these numbers are approximate because when you talk about loan, ultimately you're working with the bank. So then only when they give you like the letter of offer, the finalized contract, then you would know like, this is how much the bank can actually offer you, because otherwise they can always change the number, reduce it based on your credit score and what other things they can find about you and your work or your profile. So first, we need to look at the types of property. If you're looking at executive condominiums, it's actually really different from your typical new launch or resale condo because Primarily, ECs have HDB regulations, which are, number one, instead of using TDSR, which is 60% of your income, they use MSR to calculate your WIP quantum, which is maximum 30% of your income. 30%, that's one. So this means that approximately you can only borrow half compared to typical resale condos outside. That's first. Number two, income ceiling cap. So when you buy a new EC, I'm not talking about MOP EC or like ECs that have become fully privatized. New launch ECs, there's a cap, income ceiling cap of $16,000. So if you earn more, you can't apply, which is really problematic. So of course there is a workaround, which is number one, if your employer can give you more bonus. What I heard from my friends is that bonus are not included. So you can have 16K salary come for, and your bonus is like 20K, then you have no problem buying ECs, definitely can afford it. Additionally, if your income is slightly over, let's say 16,500 or 17,000, you can try and appeal to the developer at HDB. You might be able to get it through. So just in case you don't know, there is this option. Right now, we only have two ECs that are available: North Gaia, that has not completely sold, and Altura, which is the newer EC that just launched. So as of 7 September, right, the cheapest unit you can find in EC starts at 1.14 million. To get the maximum loan, you need approximately 13.7 thousand, and that would mean that you need a down payment of 285.5K. Your buyer stamp duty will be 30,000. Your legal duty will be 2,500. So in total, your CPF and cash payment would amount to $318,280 for the smallest unit. But let's say you have CPF, you can pay a lot of stuff away, and you can bring down your total minimum possible cash outlay to be $90,000 or $89,880, which is also a lucky number. That's really nice. Then the second condo is your Altura, which is selling at a much higher price at 1.375 million. So for that, in order to get a maximum loan, you already will hit the income ceiling of 16K. Otherwise, you would not be able to get full loan. Everything else is cash. In terms of down payment, it's 343K, 750, which is really steep. Your BSD is going to be here, 39 plus K. Your legal is 2.5K approximately. Total cash and CPF will be 385K, $850, which is a lot. And your minimum possible cash, if you want to just streamline everything, use CPF and pay, is 110K, $850, which is still a significant amount, which I think a lot of us, once you buy like a BTO HDB and you get a bit of windfall, should be able to afford to upgrade to one of the smaller unit ECs. It's within your affordability, but even then, it's still really, really painful. So if you found the pro tip on trying to get more bonuses because it doesn't fall under your salary ceiling cap to be useful, hey, be sure to give me a thumbs up because that helps the YouTube algorithm. So now let's talk about the cheapest possible condo. I really don't recommend it because when I did the research, the 606K condo, right? Everyone bought for like half the price. 300K, and those that bought at this price, like a lot of them lost money. You're looking at hundreds of thousands. So then from this data alone, it is very risky to buy a condo over here in which a lot of people bought half the price, and most people that buy at your current, or a lot of people that buy at your current price range, right, have lost 100K just to sell at this price. That being said, we're just going to look at numbers for the sake of, getting a gauge. If you want to know that, hey, I can buy condo, it's actually not as high because it's under the TDSR loan and not MSR. For this condo, the cheapest one I found is 606K. The down payment is quite steep, $151,500 BSD. I'm gonna leave here, legal over here. Bear in mind, because this is not EC, which does not incur, like new launch ECs or new projects, don't incur agent fees. If you buy a resale and you get an agent to help you, there are agent fees. So let's assume 1% is the agent fee. Plus CPF, this is approximately the agent fee that you have to pay. Minimum possible cash will be $52,125, and the total CPF and cash payment is 174K. So what do you think of this number? Actually, I think, can buy. I mean, I can afford. Soon, right? If you just save out a little bit, a few years, you should be able to afford the minimum cash needed. But again, buying cheapest is not exactly the safest or smartest thing to do. Yeah, let's move on to the next part, which is what we can reasonably expect to pay for condo prices. And how much do you actually need for each? When I check out estimated condo prices, I'm going to look at like 3-bedder or 3 rooms, right? So then you yourself, maybe your kid, and you have 1 guest room or a maid's room. So then 2 plus steady or 3-bedders are kind of the properties that I look at, which are in the realms of 900 to 1,000 square feet. So when I use a square foot, which is a data platform, to kind of break down the price ranges for CCR, which is Central Region, you get about 1,400 to 2,500 PSF. So if you multiply by 1,000, you're looking at 1.4 million to 2.5 M. And for RCR, it will be like 1.3 plus mil to 1.9 million. OCR, which is the outskirts, you're looking at like 900k to around 1.4 million as the average price within those districts. Again, we're not going to complicate things because there are a lot of payment options available which can change the price and also change the timing in which you pay, etc. Not going to go into that. We're going to talk about how much salary do you need. So for a $900,000 condo, to get the maximum loan, you only need a salary of approximately $6,000, which is a lot more achievable if you divide by 2 people. And again, down payment 225k, buyer stamp duty, legal fees, total outlay that you need to have is about 250k plus agent fees if you have. But if you want to use the minimum possible cash required, 45k plus agent fees. That's a lot more reasonable. And now let's look at $1.4 million condo, which is, I think, what a lot of us would probably stretch if we are able to afford, because this is where we can buy condos in more popular areas or much larger size condos. So for $1.4 million condo, in order to get the max loan, you need $9,100 in salary. Similarly, down payment is about 350k, buyer stamp duty is 41k, legal 2.5, the total outlay is 394k plus agent fees, and the minimum possible cash now is well into the 6 figures, so $114,000. So it's still a lot plus agent fees. So agent fees are 1% plus GST, that can add up to quite a little bit more. And last but not least, if you have the budget, you want really expensive prime area property, you're looking at about as high as $2.5 million. So for a $2.5 million condo, surprisingly, the income that you need for the max loan is 16.3k, which is, if you remember our earlier calculation, if you want to buy the smallest EC, you minimally, or to get you almost are guaranteed to need a 16k income in order to get maximum loan. So you can see there's a huge difference between buying a resale condo or a regular condo versus buying executive condos, the new launch ECs. So in terms of down payment, you need 625k, buyer's stamp duty 95k, legal 3,000 because it's more expensive, so you probably need closer to $3,000 in legal fees. The total outlay that you need now is now $723,000 plus agent fees, and your minimum possible cash needed is like 223k plus agent fees. So after seeing so many numbers, you have a clearer idea like, if you're gonna buy a cheap condo versus a mid-tier, expected mid-tier, or a really expensive condo, you know how much you need now. But the question is, which number is the scariest to you? Is it a down payment? Is it the buy stamp duty? So if you're wondering if you save costs, by buying a lower floor, I actually made a video on my own experiences living on a low floor over here, so do check that out, or check out what YouTube recommends you over here. And if you have any questions, join my group chat, and I'll see you next time. Take care, stay safe, everyone.